Listen closely. Pressure does not ask for permission. It does not knock, wait, or announce itself politely. It enters your life through one message you didn't expect, one deadline that suddenly moves closer, one argument that shifts the ground beneath your feet, one financial problem that steals your sleep, one moment when everything feels heavier than your strength. And that is where most people lose. Not because the problem is impossible, but because their mind turns the problem into a catastrophe. The pressure may be real, but the panic they add becomes the real prison. A single spark becomes a wildfire. One obstacle becomes a prophecy. One difficult moment becomes an identity. I can't handle this. Stoicism begins with a brutal, freeing truth. You are not disturbed by events. You are disturbed by your judgment of events. Epictetus said it plainly, it is not things that upset us, but our opinions about things. Marcus Aurelius repeated the same lesson in different words, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Seneca warned that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Pressure does not break you first. Your imagination tries. So today you are not learning how to live without pressure. That is childish fantasy. You are learning how to become the kind of person pressure cannot command. The goal is not comfort. The goal is composure. Not the composure that exists when everything goes your way, but the composure that remains when everything tries to pull you into chaos. Think of a mountain in the middle of a violent storm. Wind attacks it. Rain throws itself against it. Lightning tears across the sky. But the mountain does not negotiate. It does not beg the storm to calm down. It does not chase the weather. It remains. That is the mind you must build. Because calm is easy when life is easy. Strength appears when life is not. In this video, we will go through 10 lessons. Not theories. Not quotes for decoration. Lessons you can apply when your heart is racing and your thoughts are scattering. Lessons that turn pressure into focus, panic into clarity, and chaos into discipline. If you stay to the end, you will understand a simple truth: pressure is inevitable, but panic is optional. Lesson 1: Master the first reaction. The first battle against pressure happens in the first few seconds. Before you solve the problem, before you make the plan, before you speak a word, your body and mind will try to choose for you. Panic. Escape. Attack. Surrender. The first reaction feels automatic, but it does not have to become your final response. A trained mind creates space. Imagine a ship caught in a violent ocean. The waves do not ask the captain whether he is ready. They rise and crash without mercy. A weak captain fights every wave emotionally. He curses the sea and yanks the wheel in fear. A skilled captain watches the compass, adjusts the sails, and makes precise movements. The waves remain. The difference is the captain. Pressure is the ocean. Your reaction is the steering wheel. So when pressure hits, your first objective is not to fix everything. Your first objective is to stop making it worse inside your head. Do not answer the angry message while your blood is boiling. Do not make a life-changing decision while fear is screaming. Do not turn one failure into a conclusion about your entire future. Give yourself 10 seconds. 10 seconds can save you 10 months. Breathe slowly. Name what is happening in simple language. This is a deadline. This is conflict. This is uncertainty. Then ask one question: what is the next move that is within my control? Not tomorrow. Not the worst case. Not the whole mountain. The next step. Panic wants you to swallow the entire future at once. Wisdom asks you to take the next bite. Lesson 2. Separate the problem from the panic. Under pressure, most people do not suffer from the problem alone. They suffer from the story. Something goes wrong and their mind jumps 10 steps ahead. One mistake becomes failure. One failure becomes disaster. One difficult conversation becomes the end of everything. Reality speaks in details. Panic speaks in absolutes. Always. Never. Everything. Nothing. Stoicism trains you to return to precision. Imagine standing in a dark room and seeing a shadow move across the wall. Your body reacts before your mind understands. You assume danger. Heart accelerates. Breath tightens. But then you turn on the light and discover it is a curtain moving in the wind. The darkness did not create a monster. Your imagination did. Pressure works the same way. So replace dramatic language with exact language. Do not say, everything is falling apart. Say, this specific thing went wrong. Do not say, I can't handle this. Ask, what exactly needs to be handled? Do not say, my future is ruined. Ask, what happened, and what am I only predicting? When you separate the problem from the panic, the problem often becomes smaller and you become larger than it. Lesson 3. Control your body before you control the situation. Pressure hits the body first. Heart racing, shallow breathing, tight jaw, tense shoulders. If the nervous system is screaming danger, your thoughts will run at the speed of that scream. That is why Think Positive fails under real stress. You cannot command the mind while the body is stampeding. Become the rider. Your body is a powerful horse in a storm. If the rider panics, the horse runs wild. If the rider becomes still, grips the reins, slows the breath, the animal responds. So slow down physically. 1 controlled breath. Relax shoulders. Unclench jaw. Plant feet. Lower voice. Stop pacing. Stop typing. Stop broadcasting panic. Pressure demands precision, not speed. A surgeon does not become calm because the operation is unimportant. He becomes calm because the operation is too important to panic. When stakes rise, composure becomes valuable. In the next part, we will go deeper. You will learn how to stop trying to solve everything at once, how to stop fighting what you cannot control, and how to turn pressure into a weapon of focus instead of a source of collapse. Lesson 4. Stop trying to solve everything at once. Pressure becomes overwhelming when you stare at the entire mountain instead of the next step. Your mind sees the deadline, the consequences, the people waiting for your answer, the possibility of failure, and suddenly one problem feels like 10,000 problems. But your mind was never designed to carry tomorrow, next month, and the rest of your life at the same time. Marcus Aurelius trained himself to return to the present task. Do what the moment requires. Do it with excellence. Some problems belong to tomorrow. Some belong to next week. Some will never happen. Panic does not understand timing. Wisdom does. Think of a climber standing at the base of a mountain. If he stares at the summit for hours, the distance makes him feel powerless. But the mountain is not climbed in one movement. It is conquered through small steps. He does not need the summit today. He needs the next place to place his foot. Your pressure works the same way. Do not ask, how do I fix my whole life? Ask, what is the next action that improves my position? If you are drowning in work, finish the first important task. If you are facing financial pressure, identify the first move that reduces the damage. If you are in conflict, decide what must be said clearly and calmly, not what must be screamed. Pressure feeds on complexity. Clarity feeds on reduction. And stop demanding certainty before you act. You may never know whether your decision guarantees the perfect outcome. You can only make the best decision available with the information you have now. That is enough. Lesson 5. Stop fighting what you cannot control. One reason pressure destroys people is that they waste strength fighting reality itself. They want people to understand them. They want circumstances to cooperate. They want outcomes to match effort. When reality refuses, they do not just face the problem, they begin arguing with the universe. That second battle is where much suffering begins. Epictetus built his philosophy around one harsh distinction: some things are within your control and some things are not. Your judgment, choices, effort, discipline, and response belong to you. Other people's opinions, the past, unexpected events, and the final outcome do not. Confuse these territories and pressure becomes unbearable. Imagine standing on the shore trying to command the ocean to stop producing waves. You can scream at the sea. You can become angry. You can demand calm. The waves continue. The wise sailor does not argue with water. He adjusts the sails, studies the current, and changes course. So stop saying, "This should not be happening." Start saying, "This is happening. What is mine to do?" That question turns helplessness into action. When you stop demanding that reality obey your preferences, you recover enormous mental energy. Control your effort. Release the outcome. Lesson 6. Turn pressure into focus. Most people think pressure steals focus. The truth is pressure reveals whether you ever trained focus at all. Under pressure, attention jumps between fears. You check your phone, replay conversations, imagine consequences, seek reassurance, and waste energy thinking about the problem without moving it forward. The Stoic mind narrows the battlefield. Instead of allowing every possibility to enter, it asks one ruthless question: what deserves my attention right now? That question transforms chaos into clarity because pressure becomes dangerous when everything feels equally important. Imagine a warrior in a battlefield. Noise is everywhere: shouts, weapons, chaos. If he tries to respond to everything, he becomes useless. A trained warrior narrows attention to what is directly in front of him. He does not need silence to focus. He needs discipline strong enough to ignore noise. That is you. The notification can wait. The opinion can wait. The argument can wait. The hypothetical disaster can wait. The next necessary action cannot. Use 3 questions when pressure rises: what matters most, what can I control, what must I do next? Everything else is background until its turn arrives. Think of a laser. Ordinary light spreads in many directions, but a laser concentrates energy into a narrow beam. The power does not come from having more energy. It comes from concentration. Your mind works the same way. You do not always need more motivation. You need less mental leakage. Stop spending 10 minutes imagining what someone might think. Use those minutes to solve the problem. Stop rehearsing every failure. Prepare for the most realistic one. Stop checking for reassurance every 5 minutes. Trust yourself enough to finish the task. You can feel fear and still focus. You can feel uncertainty and still act. You can feel overwhelmed and still choose one thing to do next. That is composure. Lesson 7. do not let pressure attack your identity. Pressure becomes lethal when you stop saying, "I am facing a difficult situation," and start saying, "I am a weak person." The first describes circumstances. The second creates a prison. You are experiencing pressure. You are not pressure. Imagine a tree through 4 seasons. Winter strips leaves. From a distance it looks dead. But the roots still work. The tree does not confuse season with identity. Winter is something it experiences, not something it becomes. Treat yourself the same way. A bad chapter is not a bad life. A failure is not your identity. A difficult season is not who you are. Marcus Aurelius returned again and again to one question. What kind of person will I choose to be, regardless of circumstances? Environment changes, enemies change, plans change, but character remains your responsibility. So stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" Ask, "Who will I be while this is happening?" That question moves attention from helplessness back to character. Pressure tests you, but it does not define you unless you hand it the pen. In the final part, you will learn the last 3 lessons: mastering expectations, turning pressure into power, and staying present when everything wants to break your composure. Lesson 8: Master the pressure of other people's expectations. Some pressure does not come from the situation. It comes from people. The need to impress them, satisfy them, prove yourself to them, make them proud, avoid disappointing them, or protect an image you built years ago. Slowly you stop living your life and start performing a version that will be approved. Think of an actor on a stage. If he watches the audience while speaking, he loses rhythm and forgets lines. The crowd does not need to touch him to control him. His attention is enough. That is what happens when you become addicted to approval. Stoicism draws a line between respect and approval. You should care about being a good person. You should care about keeping your word. You should care about treating people with dignity. But you do not need everyone to understand your choices. You do not need everyone to agree with your direction. If your peace depends on applause, the crowd owns your peace. Ask yourself a ruthless question when expectation pressure becomes heavy: if nobody could see this decision, what would I choose? That exposes how much of your life is values and how much is performance. Examine criticism, but do not worship it. Learn from truth, discard noise. A tree does not ask the forest for permission to grow. It grows. Not to insult other trees, but because growth is its nature. Let discipline be your nature. Lesson 9: Turn pressure into power. Most people spend life trying to escape pressure. They want easier schedules, fewer responsibilities, fewer hard conversations, fewer uncertain moments. But remove every source of pressure and you do not create strength, you create fragility. A muscle never challenged has no reason to grow. Stoicism asks a different question. Not how do I stop life from testing me, but how do I become stronger because life tests me? Instead of seeing adversity as an interruption, you see it as material. The obstacle becomes training. Think of a blacksmith. A piece of metal enters cold and unfinished. Heat surrounds it. Hammer strikes again and again. To an observer it looks like destruction. To the blacksmith it is shaping. Each strike forms the metal into something it could never become untouched. Pressure can do the same to you, but only if you stop asking pressure to leave before it teaches you what it came to teach. Marcus Aurelius wrote about turning obstacles into opportunities for action. Sometimes the obstacle is the path. The rejection forces independence. The failure exposes weakness you needed to confront. The crisis reveals capabilities you did not know you had. This does not mean every painful event is secretly good. Some things are tragic. Stoicism does not demand you lie to yourself. It asks something harder, even when the event hurts: what will you do with what remains? Two people walk through the same storm. One screams at rain and loses energy. The other accepts that rain falls, protects what can be protected, adjusts route, and keeps moving. Same storm. Different damage. So when pressure rises, do not ask only, "Why me?" Ask, "What is this demanding that I become?" More patience, more discipline, more courage, better boundaries, better preparation, greater emotional control. Then build it. Pressure is not automatically your enemy. Untrained pressure is your enemy. A trained mind can use the same pressure that breaks another person as fuel. Lesson 10: Master the moment when everything breaks. There is a moment under pressure when your mind tries to escape the present. It runs to tomorrow, imagines consequences, replays yesterday, searches for an answer that does not exist yet. The more your mind leaves the present, the less power you have over what is in front of you. The final level of composure is staying present when everything wants to pull you into panic. A Roman soldier entering battle could not control weather, enemy, or what would happen later. He could control formation, weapon, breathing, next movement. That is your philosophy. Stop trying to solve the entire future while standing in the present. Deal with what is here. You must also stop expecting yourself to feel calm before acting calmly. Sometimes fear will scream. Sometimes uncertainty will sit on your chest. That does not mean you lost control. Self-mastery is not absence of emotion. It is the ability to choose behavior while emotion is present. Return to basics. Slow breathing. Separate facts from assumptions. Identify what belongs to you. Remove unnecessary noise. Choose the next action. Repeat. Pressure will return. Another deadline, another conflict, another unexpected loss, another moment when life becomes heavier than expected. You cannot build a life where pressure never appears. But you can build a mind that no longer collapses when it does. Now remember what you learned. Your first reaction does not have to become your final decision. The problem is not the same as the panic story. Calm the body before commanding the mind. Stop carrying the entire future. Focus on what belongs to you. Protect attention. Do not let a bad chapter become an identity. Release the crowd's expectations. Use pressure as training. Stay present and take the next right step. Pressure is coming. The only question is whether it will break you or build you. So when the storm arrives, do not beg it to stop. Do not surrender your mind. Stand still long enough to think. Think clearly enough to choose. Choose wisely enough to act. Act with discipline enough to keep moving. Comment, "I master pressure," if you're done panicking and ready to train your mind.